All right, everybody, welcome to a long-awaited AM 101. It's been a while and it's good to see so many people on here. We broke 100 already and we're just starting, so yay. This is the dues billing compliance AM 101 for 2024. Please bear in mind this is being recorded. Please, everyone, mute your mics. We're going to take questions in the end. So please save them. And if you just have a one-off question that's just specific to your association, you can contact Eliza at the end or sometime afterwards. You will get all the slides in the end, and we're ready to go. So with that, I would like to introduce the man of the hour, our very own Keismond Trammer.
Thank you, Peggy. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us this morning. This session is actually designed to cover everything that you need to know about the upcoming 2024 dues billing cycle. And so our goal today is to make sure that after today's training, you will be ready to have your dues billing invoices and online portals reviewed by our audit team. Remember, local associations cannot send out their dues billing invoices until after they have been reviewed and approved by C.A.R. staff. So based on the information that we provide today, you shouldn't have any problems passing the dues billing audit and review process. And so before we get started, I just want to make sure that you're prepared for the presentation today. Now, I have to be totally honest with you. There's no way to make this presentation fun and exciting. Even if we added some rap music to this presentation, it's still going to be a little boring, but the information is extremely important, and it's exactly what we all need in order to pass the review process. And so we've actually trimmed this presentation down from an hour to about 30 minutes, might be a little longer, but Eliza from our legal department is going to go through the slides, and then she's going to take your questions at the end of the presentation. So at this time, I am going to turn it over to Eliza. And I think you're on mute, Eliza.
Thanks, Keismond. Okay.
Perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 Dues Billing Compliance webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Eliza Karapetian, counsel for C.A.R., and it's a pleasure for me to be here today to help you comply with all of the legal requirements related to your dues bill. Before I begin, I also want to make a quick disclosure. The material is so dry and boring and meticulous, but I will do my best to address just the key points as much as possible. The slides will be provided to you after the webinar, so you'll have all of the information that I'm presenting today. And I'll also be giving you my contact information at the end of the presentation. Please don't hesitate to reach out, because I know you're going to come up with questions while you're actually preparing your dues bill. It might not be a question today, but it's going to come up down the road. Don't hesitate to contact me. I will do my best to get you all of the answers that you'll need. Without further ado, let's get this party started. So, what is our goal here today? Our ultimate goal here is legal compliance, right? We want to make sure we're complying with all applicable laws. And the purpose of these laws is primarily to provide transparency to members when they're looking at their dues bill. Members have to know where their money is going with the dues bill. They need to know what their opt-out rights are. There are certain opt-out rights that they have, and they need to be aware of that. There are certain mandatory and voluntary contributions that are being solicited in the dues bill, and members need to be made aware which ones are voluntary and which ones are mandatory. They need to know their opt-out rights, as I said, especially with regard to political contributions, which we'll talk about a lot shortly. But for example, also there are certain IRS requirements that need to be complied with. Members have to know what portion of their dues are tax deductible. In addition, we want to ensure policy compliance. C.A.R. PACs and local associations have a cooperative agreement in place, and this cooperative agreement has certain provisions that local associations have to comply with. For example, the cooperative agreement requires that RAF has to be included above the line on your dues bill. So we'll talk about what it means to be above the line and how you'll get this to comply. But I just want to show you a big picture of all of this and help put things into perspective. You know, when we're talking about the slides and what each requirement is, always think about this ultimate goal, you know, disclosure, awareness, transparency. That's pretty much what all of these requirements lead to at the end of the day. Okay, so I want to point out that there have been changes to the 2024 dues bill. Both NAR and CAR have increased their dues bill by $6. So CAR allocation is now $231 and NAR allocation is $201. So please, when you're drafting your 2024 dues bill, make sure you're not using the old numbers, and all of the numbers on your current dues bill are revised to reflect these changes. There also have been some changes to the RAA disclosure paragraph, which we'll talk about. But I ask that, you know, I refer you to the template. I ask you to look at that carefully and use all of the information that we've provided you in that template, because we've updated and revised everything as necessary. We've also revised a bunch of tools that we have that'll help you comply with all of these requirements. You can find all of these tools at this link I've provided you with at the bottom of the slide. When you go there, you'll find the 2024 dues billing template. I don't know if it's already there, but it will be posted there after this webinar. That has all of the information you need, including the numbers, the disclosure languages that we're going to talk about. There's a dues billing compliance checklist that's also helpful. In fact, when we review your dues bill, we look at the checklist and we look at your dues bill and we check off everything that's been complied with. So that's also really helpful for you. You can also look for the dues billing annotations document. That's also really helpful. It's been updated with the new numbers. That pretty much sets forth the template that we have, and using endnotes, it goes through line by line and explains to you like what's required, what's optional, what language should be taken verbatim. So that's also a really helpful tool that you can use when you're preparing your dues bill. Also, there's a memo on local lobbying expenditures. We'll get to the section where your local association has to disclose the local lobbying expenditures that are non-deductible on the dues bill. And a lot of questions usually come up on how these numbers and amounts and percentages could be calculated. Look for this memo on local lobbying expenditures because it does give some guidance with examples. So hopefully all of these tools will be helpful when you're preparing your dues bill. I'd also like to remind you now that all formats of your dues bill has to comply with all of the requirements that we're talking about today. It's not just the paper bill that has to comply. Your paper bill, your email bill, your online dues billing portal, your Nerds e-commerce they all have to comply with all of the requirements that we're talking about here today. And again, Keismond reminded you, I also want to remind you that C.A.R. has to review and approve all formats before you distribute to members. So if you have paper bills and online billing portals, we will have to review and approve both of those. Just reviewing and approving the paper bill isn't enough for you to go ahead and distribute. So please keep that in mind when you're submitting your dues bill for review. You can submit your dues bill through this tiny URL link that we've provided here for you after the webinar. So once you go into this link onto this webpage, you'll be given the opportunity to give us credentials to your online billing portal, where we'll log on and review your dues bill. Also, if you have paper bills, there's a section there that allows you to upload a copy of your paper bill there, so we can review and approve that as well. So through this link, you'll be able to submit your dues bill for us to review and approve. One thing I want to point out, please, when you're providing credentials, keep in mind, make sure that the credentials you're providing are accurate. Double check that, because we've had situations where, there's been typos, and typos delay the process. So one letter might just, delay it, and you might be wondering why we're not getting back to you. Please make sure you're giving us the accurate credentials and the credentials of the person who's actually in charge of this, because sometimes, we get credentials of someone else and or wrong emails. Just make sure that all of the information is proper. Also, please allow 5 to 7 days for us to review and get back to you, because everyone's submitting all at the same time. It does take C.A.R. some time to actually review it, but please be assured, we'll be taking care of you. We'll review it. We'll get back to you with our recommended revisions or with the approval you need. And we're willing to work with you to get this done. Now I want to talk about the 2 types of political contributions on the bill. It's because of the political contributions that certain disclosure requirements are required, and we'll get to all of that as well, but I just want to start with the 2 political contributions that go on your dues bill. The first one is the Realtor Action Assessment. We also refer to it as RAA. And the second one is the Realtor Action Fund, also known as RAF. And bear with me if I'm giving you more information than you need. I'm sure most of you already know what RAF is, but I just want to put things into perspective and help those that are new. Some of the terms get really confusing. So RAA and RAF are your 2 political contributions that go on your dues bill. The RAA is a $69 mandatory assessment. It's deposited into the C.A.R. PACs. Even though the RAA is mandatory, members can actually select to have the $69 be deposited into C.A.R.'s general fund for other political purposes instead of the PACs. So it's a mandatory assessment, yet members have a right to opt out and have that money be deposited somewhere else into the general fund. And the RAA disclosure language that we're going to talk about actually informs members of these rights that they have. The RAF, unlike the RAA, is entirely voluntary. And again, members have to know that RAF is voluntary. Even though RAF is voluntary, we want to urge members to contribute. We want members to know that their contributions to RAF are super important, because RAF helps promote realtor interests through C.A.R.'s lobbying efforts, right? So we want to urge our members to contribute. Yet at the same time, we want to make sure that we're complying with the law and the members aren't in any way thinking that, this is mandatory. So members have to know it's voluntary, and our disclosure language that we're going to get to informs members that, RAF is voluntary. Also, again, I want to remind you of that cooperative agreement that we keep talking about. Local associations have a cooperative agreement with the PACs. RAF has to be included above the line on your dues bill. We're going to get to that as well, but I just want to keep, mentioning the above the line requirement, because that is going to basically instruct you on, what the requirements are to comply with the above the line requirements. Let's talk about the RAA requirements. As you'll see on our template, RAA has to be on the state allocation line. As you see here, I've taken a portion of the template to show you where RAA is and how it's on the state allocation line. You can either explicitly identify this as realtor action assessment, or if you have space limitations, then RAA is also okay. Excuse me. So on the state allocation line right next to RAA, you'll either pick a symbol of your choice, or you'll follow our template and pick a single asterisk, as we have right next to RAA. We've put on a single asterisk, and that asterisk is going to refer you to the RAA disclosure paragraph, which has to be on the face of the bill, or when you're dealing with online portals, it has to be on the same screen. So here's our asterisk. Again, you can pick any symbol of your choice as long as it's consistent with the disclosure paragraph that's going to be on the face of the bill. The RAA disclosure paragraph that's going to be on the face of the bill has to be taken verbatim from the template that we're going to provide you with. So council has vetted out how the wording is going to be, where the sentences are going to be. Please just take the paragraph verbatim and insert it into your dues bill as your RAA disclosure paragraph. Again, repetitive, but this is the most important part that most of us miss. The RAA disclosure paragraph has to start with the same symbol or the same single asterisk that we've placed right next to RAA. So it has to be consistent with that. So the member basically knows, okay, there's a single asterisk next to RAA. Where's the, what does this mean? Let's look for the disclosure language that has to be on that face of the bill. They find the disclosure language because that also starts with a single asterisk. Again, disclosure, they need to know where their money is going. So always remember, these asterisks or symbols we're talking about, how important it is to reference the paragraphs that need to be on the face of the bill. That's why, it has to be consistent so the member knows of this is where their money is going. Let's talk about the RAF requirements now. So first, RAF has to be written on its own line on the dues billing statement. And when you look at our template, you'll see how we've placed RAF on its own line. Second, RAF has to be above the line. Now I want to finally talk about what above the line means. I keep referencing above the line. So RAF has to be above the line pursuant to the cooperative agreement that we talked about, right? What is above the line? There are 5 requirements that have to be satisfied in order for RAF to be considered above the line. Now let's go through the 5 requirements. First, you must explicitly state that RAF is optional or voluntary, right? Members have to know this is a political contribution that's entirely voluntary. As important as it is, and as much as we want to urge members to contribute to RAF, they need to know it's voluntary and it's not a mandatory requirement on their dues bill. You do this by either using the terms, or you do this by, as you'll see on our template, we have this little symbol here showing optional. You can do it that way if space is limited. It's your choice, but you have to tell them that it's voluntary. The second requirement is the RAF default amount has to be either $49 or $148. This is a cooperative agreement pursuant to the cooperative agreement that I kept talking about. So either $49 or $148, not $20, not $30. We've had dues bills come to us where the default amounts were incorrect. Please make sure you pick one or the other, or you can even have both. We've had dues bills that, have both $49 and $148 on 2 separate lines. You can also do that. If you have any questions, again, refer to the template because you'll see how things are laid out there. The third requirement, basically, the RAF amount has to be listed above the total amount due. So on this slide, I've taken a portion of the billing amounts. So you can see, here's the total amount due, and Realtor Action Fund is listed above that total amount due. And not just that, by default, the RAF amount has to be included in the total amount due. So when you're doing the calculation, when you're adding all these numbers to come up with the total amount due, please make sure that Realtor Action Fund dollar amount is included in that calculation. So you're adding RAF to, let's say, your C.A.R. dues and A.R. allocation. And when you're coming up with the total amount due number, that calculation includes the RAF default amount of either $49 or $148 or both 49 and 40 and 148 if you have both of them listed on your dues bill. The fourth requirement is member must have only one option to remove RAF from the total amount due. So remember, you have it included in the total amount due, but the member has to have only one option to remove the RAF contribution. For example, when you have an online dues billing portal, this means that the member will have only one screen to uncheck the RAF box. It's not compliant if the member has to check a box to contribute. So that box has to have been checked already, and the member has to be able to deselect that box. So it's not compliant if the member has to fill in the RAF amount in the box, and it's not compliant if the member has to fill in the total amount due. There has to be only one option for the member to decide they're not contributing to RAF. Finally, you have to include either the double asterisk. Remember, for RAA on our template, we included a single asterisk for the disclosure paragraph. Now for RAF, again, any symbol of your choice, but we've used the double asterisk. If you're gonna use our template, you can also use the double asterisk right next to RAF. And the disclosure language that's going to be on the face of the bill is also going to start with a double asterisk. So the member knows, the member looks at the dues bill, they see RAF, they see the double asterisk, they look for the disclosure language that starts with the double asterisk on the face of the bill, or for online dues billing portals, they'll have to see it on the same screen. So as soon as they see it, they know what it's talking about. They know whether it's a requirement or not. They know where their money's going, and we have no issues with compliance there. But if they have to move to another screen to find the disclosure language, if the symbols are inconsistent, like let's say you have a double asterisk here, but you don't have that same double asterisk right in front of the actual disclosure language, and the member has to go through and find the language that applies to RAF, then it's not compliant. The member has to quickly be able to say, okay, what is this for? Let me find the language. It's there. I don't need to look for it. That's pretty much what we're looking for when we're reviewing your dues bill, when we're saying, certain disclosures have to be on the face of the bill, on the same screen of your online dues billing portal, just so members can just quickly go to it and they know what these amounts are. Now I want to talk about the RAF disclosure language, the actual content. As I said, it's required by law, and you have to use the same exact language verbatim taken from our template. However, with RAF disclosure language, there's two exceptions I want to point out where it's going to be different. You're not going to take verbatim. The first thing is, as you'll see here, I've taken a small, the RAF disclosure paragraph. You'll update the amount to match the actual RAF amount that's listed on your local association dues bill. So if your local association dues bill has $49, you can leave this as 49. But if you use 148, then you would revise those two 49s and put 148 instead. Also, on the last sentence of the RAF disclosure paragraph, it lets members know where they can find the legal notices that we're going to talk about shortly. The legal notices are pretty much, they explain the political contribution structure. So on the last sentence of the RAF disclosure paragraph, you'll be pointing out where the member can find this. On our template, we've had it, we say it such that it's found on the reverse side of the bill. Depending on where you're going to be giving this information to the members, you'll revise this sentence. If it's a link, you'll put the link in this last sentence with an explanation. Okay, so any other mandatory disclosures? Yes, you have to state that political contributions aren't deductible as charitable contributions. You can take this language verbatim from the template. Language has to be on the face of the bill. It has to be at least the same font size as the other billing language and the amounts. And that's how it is on our template. So if you use it, you're in full compliance with that requirement. Excuse me. I also want to talk about optional disclosures. Even though this isn't really required by law, we still recommend that you advise members that a portion of their dues bill is actually deductible. And we've drafted this language. You can also use this language verbatim, and you'll find it on the template. I want to talk now about C.A.R.'s Housing Affordability Fund, also known as HAF. You'll see HAF is included on our dues bill. HAF is a nonprofit fund, and it's dedicated to addressing the housing affordability crisis. HAF promotes homeownership, and we urge you to have HAF on the dues bill. In fact, HAF has recently launched a closing cost assistance program, helps first-time home buyers. So we highly urge that you have HAF in your dues bill. And when you do, your dues bill has to state that donations to HAF are voluntary. So members have to know this isn't a requirement on the dues bill. It's a voluntary donation. And they can choose to either contribute or not. Also, with regard to HAF, there are mandatory disclosures because it's a charity that you're collecting donations for. Just like any other charity for HAF as well, you have to inform members that charitable contributions are tax deductible. And we have this language in our template. You can take it, and if your association asks for donations to any other charity other than HAF, then you would just insert the name of that charity here, and you'll be in compliance with this requirement as well. Because your dues bill includes political contributions that are non-deductible, there are certain mandatory disclosure language that's required to inform members which portion of their dues bill is a non-deductible portion that's used for lobbying. Now, for and this amount basically the breakdown has to be as follows, just like we have it here. We have to provide the amount for NAR, C.A.R, as well as the local associations. Both dollar amounts and percentages have to be there, and we would also have to add up the $3 amounts and insert that total amount in the box here, as we have it on our template. And keep in mind that every year C.A.R provides you with the updated NAR and C.A.R breakdowns for lobbying amounts, both percentages and dollar amounts. However, for your own local association, that's something you would have to calculate yourself. And once you take our template, you'll have to add your local association lobbying percentage and dollar amounts here. And you'll have to insert, add up the totals and insert it up there in the box, as you see here. Keep in mind that even if this number is 0 for your own association, if you have $0 and 0 percentages going for lobbying, then you would put 0. Please don't leave it blank. Make sure you put 0 there in that area that's provided. And again, there's requirements for this breakdown as well. The language has to be on the face of the bill. It has to be on the same screen as the billing language. And make sure that all of the percentages and dollar amounts that you have on the face of the bill are consistent with the numbers that are on the legal notices that we're going to talk about that shortly, but just a heads up. For the 2024 C.A.R and NAR estimated portion, see the 2024 template that's going to be provided. I want to point something out here that's noteworthy. We've had some questions come up on this before. Note that our template uses, for the NAR estimated percentage, we use 27% because we're taking that calculation based on the entire NAR allocation of $201, not just the $156. So if your dues bill separates out NAR dues and the special NAR special assessment, then your percentage would be based off of the NAR dues. And that's why on NAR's website, you'll see this number is 35%. But because we've combined it in our dues bill into a single line, we basically calculate the percentage based off of the $201. Every dues bill has to include the most current version of the legal notices and disclosures regarding the dues billing statement. This can be found at the link we've provided here below. Every year we update this information. So this is where you'll find the most current legal notices. Keep in mind that you have to always include the legal notices with your dues bill. For paper bills, you can put it at the back of the bill, or it could be a separate insert. For email bills, you can just take the entire text and put it in an email. You can do it as a separate attachment, or you can do it as a link with an explanation. For online bills, it can be on the main page. You could just copy and paste the text on the main page of the bill, or again, you can do it with a link. But please keep in mind, every bill has to have an updated 2024 legal notices and disclosures, and a lot of the lobbying numbers can be found there as well. There are additional requirements that you need to be aware of. I'm not going to go deep into this because it doesn't really apply to everyone. Some of the associations use installment payments. There are rules that apply to that. You have to disclose which political contributions go with which installments. If you have any questions on this, please reach out to me and I'll help you go through it and make sure you're complying with the additional rules that apply. But I'm not going to take too much of your time on this. I know your time is limited and valuable. There are some other compliance requirements. This is really important. I want to remind you that political contributions have to be in the name of the person that's actually paying, and it has to be tracked accurately for reporting purposes. That's why we ask that on the 15th of each month and on the last day of each month, your association has to submit all of the dues, allocations, and assessments that they received. And together with that, they have to provide the records that are actually identifying the names, the NERDS IDs, the amounts paid of all of the people that, all of the members that contributed these political contributions, so we can accurately track and report all of this information. Now I'd like to ask Keismond to talk about the financial record and how it's uploaded onto M1. Keismond?
Thank you, Eliza. So I just wanted to quickly talk about members that transfer to another association before the financial record is uploaded to M1. As you know, each year, members will pay their annual dues today, and then tomorrow or next week, they'll decide to transfer to another association right after they pay their dues, right? So they transfer before you have an opportunity to upload the financial record to M1. So what happens if an association does not upload a member's financial record to M1 before the member transfers to another association? Well, the old association will have to transfer the record back to their association and then add the financial record to M1. Once the financial record is in M1, then C.A.R.'s finance department will need to process the financial record before the record can be transferred back to the new association. Also, the monthly reconciliation report and the BCT will show that the new association owes dues for that member if these steps are not taken. So what needs to happen? So when the association collects membership dues from a member, the financial record must be uploaded to M1 and the payment must be sent through e-commerce within 2 weeks, which is the new policy that was established earlier this year, right? Local associations are now required to upload financial records to M1 and submit dues payments through e-commerce on the 15th and the last day of each month. So following these steps will help prevent this issue from happening. Next slide.
Thanks, Keismond.
Yep.
Okay, so here this slide basically shows you when you go to that link I provided for the tools, this is where that'll lead to, and here on this site you'll find all of the tools you need that's going to help you comply, whether it's the template, the checklist, the annotations document we talked about, the local lobbying expenditures memo. So everything you need will be on this page, and I provided you with the link for that earlier. So that's the place to go before you start preparing. This is my contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I will do my best to answer all of your questions. I've also provided the contact information for Lisa Edwards. You all probably know her. Lisa's amazing. She will go out of her way to help you out and make this a smooth process. Now, thank you for joining us. Your time is much appreciated. Thanks for bearing with me going through all this boring, meticulous, dry material. I appreciate your time.
Eliza, can you stop screen sharing, and then by a raise of hands, can we start having the questions? Perfect, thank you.
So I will jump in, Peggy. Ruben asked a question regarding Nerds e-commerce, regarding the pay now and pay later function in e-commerce. So this is a function that was actually set up by NAR. They have this feature in place to send out a reminder notification to the member, just in case the member changes their mind and wants to contribute to REF. And so this feature is actually set up, and we can't remove it or turn that feature off. So it's there in place. And so if the member does not want to contribute to REF, they will have to just click pay later.
Thanks, Keismond. And we have a question from Alyssa.
Yes, my question is in regards to Keismond and his conversation in regards to a member paying C.A.R. at one board and then transferring to another board before the C.A.R. dues are uploaded in M1. Could you go over that scenario again?
Yes, absolutely. So, when a member pays their dues, most of the time, the member, when they pay their dues, that information really needs to get uploaded to M1 in a timely manner, because really the association doesn't know if the member is going to transfer to another association tomorrow or next week or next month. And so what happens is, if that member transfers to another association and makes that association primary, then when the new primary association looks at the payment record on M1, it's going to show unpaid. And so C.A.R. is going to be under the impression that the new association owes dues for that member. And so in order to resolve that issue, the old association will need to POE transfer that record back to their association, upload the financial record to M1. Our finance department will need to process that financial record before the new association can transfer the record back to their association. And so once that process takes place, then the new association will see that this member paid, because the financial record on M1 will show the C.A.R. dues and the NAR dues, and C.A.R. won't be billing the new association for any dues for that member. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, Keismond, they're showing up in the chat. So somebody wanted to know if there was going to be a Rapatoni
yes.
webinar.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So we are sending out a reminder today. So the Rapatoni training. So for those associations that use Rapatoni, Rapatoni is going to conduct a Rapatoni training session tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we will be sending out the reminder today with the Zoom link as well. And so that is tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we have not forgot about the Rapatoni boards.
And then Karen Snow is asking if there will be a growth zone webinar.
There will not be a growth zone webinar or a Ramco or IMS. We're looking into conducting those trainings possibly next year. We'll need to work with those vendors to set up these trainings, but we won't have those trainings taking place this year. Sorry.
Okay, and then Valerie wants to know, when will the 2024 dues billing template be uploaded to the website? It currently has the 2023 version.
I'm glad you said that. We've actually been we actually thought we uploaded all of the dues billing information to the website. We actually been having some technical issues. I'll have Mariah double check that, but we actually uploaded all of the 2024 data. And so we'll just need to double check that to make sure that when we upload it, it's sticking. Something is going on with our website at the moment, but you will see that uploaded today. We're also going to upload the webinar as well as provide the PowerPoint slides on the website as well.
Thanks, Keismond. And Ruben has a question. He's got his hand raised.
Hey, Ruben.
Hey, Keismond, how you doing? Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Ruben, Grandpa.
I just, yeah, thank you. I just had just for clarification, we're supposed to send in the breakdown for the members that pay directly with us at the association, not when they pay e-commerce at NER.Realtor, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted a clarification for my assistant.
Yeah, that's an automatic feed. If the member pays through NAR, then it should split, which means C.A.R. should get their dues, NAR should get their dues, and of course the locals should get their local dues as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Robin Spiller wants to know if a member opts out of RAA to PAX, where in the C.A.R. general fund is it used?
Go ahead, Eliza.
Yeah, so the member would have to, in writing, let C.A.R. know that they are opting out of the PAX, and C.A.R. will then make a determination as to where it's going to be used, and there will be communication with the member. But honestly, at this point, I don't know where they end up depositing the money, but it is used for other political purposes, just not the PAX.
Thanks, Eliza. And then Hank wanted to know if the Rapatoni webinar would be recorded, and yes, it will be, so that you can look at it afterwards. Julie said she heard that the 2024 application fee for new members is $200.
That is correct.
Ginger would like to know, is there an opt-over form? What C.A.R. email should we direct it to?
Opt-over form for RAA?
Yes.
There is no form. It could just be in writing. Send it out to the dues billing. We have a C.A.R. dues billing email address set up. Keismond, do we provide that information?
I was under the impression that it should go to accounting@CAR.org, but I'll need to verify that before.
Sure.
We'll
double check that and get back to you on where they should send the opt-out email.
Keismond, maybe that can go in the follow-up email.
Yes.
So everyone has that. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then Hannah, our new AE in Ojai, wants to know, when we are sending payments through e-commerce, where do we provide the breakdown of all the members that we are sending payments for?
All right, that's a great question. So our finance team requires the associations, I believe, to submit a spreadsheet. So they have a template that the associations will use to complete, the breakdown of those members that have paid. Once you fill in that template, I believe you can send that to accounting@CAR.org.
And Hannah, I know you're going through this for the first time, so when you're going through it, if you have any questions, just contact Keismond or Eliza directly too. Karen is our Growth Zone user, and she's under the impression that Growth Zone sends dues directly to M1. Is she to report to C.A.R. the monthly reconciliation as well?
So it depends. So if Growth Zone is if members are paying through her online portal and those dues are being split, meaning the dues is going to C.A.R., NAR, and the local, then we should have that information. We should be able to capture that information through the e-commerce system. We just have to make sure that that is exactly what's taking place. And so if she can just send me a separate email offline, and then I can check with our finance department just to make sure that that's exactly what's happening for her association.
Thanks, Keys.
Mhm.
Aubrey would like to know, is there a late fee that's charged as well, or only a new member processing fee?
Yes, thank you. I had to think about that for a second. So the late fee is for renewing members. So any member that renews their membership after February 28th will incur a $50 late fee. The new member fee is $200, and that's for brand new members.
Thanks, Keismond. I don't see anything else in the chat. Oh, yes, I do. Rhonda wants to know, all my members pay directly to NAR. Am I to follow up?
There's no follow-up because members that are paying directly through NAR, that's really the perfect setup because we're receiving the dues for C.A.R, NAR, and the local, as well as the system is automatically generating the financial record on M1. So there's nothing else that the association needs to do when the member is paying directly through NAR.
Thank you, Keismond. And we've got a hand up, Ginger.
Just a quick question. The new member fee changed to $200. If
Yes.
somebody is joining in December, they're still paying the $100, correct? It's not until after January 1st. Okay.
That is correct, yes.
It's a great question, Ginger. Jasmine would like to know how long the BCT takes to update.
Well, if we're talking about financials, that can take 24 to 48 hours, sometimes longer, especially at the beginning of the year, because most of the local associations are, uploading financial records. And so we're just getting, so much data coming in our system. A lot of times it takes our finance team, a few days to process those records. But when you're just talking about, member changes, we're updating the BCT on an hourly basis. So it just depends on what you're looking for when it comes to the BCT. If you're looking for the financial records, just know that that's going to take, at least 24, 48 hours today. But in January, it's going to be a lot longer because the volume of data that we're getting is taking us a lot longer to process. But membership data, you should see those updated on an hourly basis on the BCT.
Thank you. And Lisa has a one-off here, but I'm going to read it, but I'm going to tell, it's not something you need to answer right now.
Okay.
She says, I had a few issues with NAR payments not showing in the M1 system last year. Any one-off like that, just contact Keismond, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karen wants to know if late fees are still going to be $50.
Yes.
Okay. Susie Bracken, I'm paying new members through e-commerce, but also getting requests from C.A.R to send reports. What am I doing wrong?
That's hard for me to answer. I'm sorry, because sometimes you just need to look at the data to really find out what is happening. And so if she can just send me an email and then we can discuss it, offline.
Perfect. When will the 2024 LIFRO and MLO be ready for local chapters to download and use?
That will be available today.
Great. Gina wants to know if a member is inactive for more than 12 months and then rejoins, is that member considered a new member and will have to pay the $200 member fee again?
They will. So, and I'm glad she brought that up. So if you have a member that, was a member in 2022 and then decides to take 2023 off and then wants to come back in 2024, that individual is considered a brand new member and they would pay the $200 new member fee.
Perfect. Oh, question of the day from Veronica. When will the BCT reset for 2024?
That is a great question. I believe we're starting to do something different. I think last year we didn't. I don't remember if we waited to reset the BCT like we've normally done in the past, where we wait until like the middle of the month or the end of the month. I will need to check with our finance team as well as our IT department just to confirm when we're going to reset the BCT for 2024.
Thank you. Donna Hawker's got her hand raised.
Hi,
Hey,
Donna.
good morning. So I have a situation that I just need some guidance on. So I have a realtor that has a license in Arizona. She also has a license here in California, with a local broker as well. So it's very confusing when you collect state, right? Do I collect state dues from her for California as well?
Yes.
Is that correct? And local
That's
dues,
correct.
NAR, she's already paid.
Right.
How do I go into the system, because I am no longer her primary? Arizona is her primary, and update that she's paid, like that she's going to pay her C.A.R. dues.
Yeah. So you'll have to add her as a secondary member in M1. And then
Okay.
once you do that, then you can send an email to me and Mariah with the
Okay.
member's name and NERDS ID number. And then we'll need to add California as the secondary state association.
Okay.
And
And then
then
you'll see that she's paid through, like we'll collect it and put it in through M1 that way.
Yes. So
Okay.
once you add your association as secondary and you see California as the secondary state, then you'll see the option where you can actually go in and enter the financial record.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And with that, there are no questions in the chat. We are at the end of the line. I would say if anybody else has any one-offs specific to their association or something that is not specific to your association, please contact Keismond, Mariah, or Eliza, depending on what the question is, or all of them, whichever you decide to do. And we will have the follow-up email with the slides and some answers and links for you, and the link to this recorded session as soon as we can possibly put it together. So thank you very much to Eliza and Keismond. I don't know if you can see in the chat, but you're getting thank yous all over the place, which
Oh,
is
you're welcome.
Thank
great
you. Thank you
information.
for taking the time and being here today with our boring material.
Well, you covered everything, Eliza. Thank you. And we hope to see all the Rapatoni users on the same time tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.